I know many people have been waiting for the X3D versions of the Ryzen 7000 chips. AMD promised them coming in February, and we finally have the announcement with the pricing and release date. This video will be linked in the description to my video. This is officially from AMD themselves. This is official. And so we're seeing the 7800 X3D coming in at $449, the 7900 X3D coming in at $599, and the 7950 X3D coming in at $699. Now, the release dates of these are not identical. With the 7900 X3D and 7950 X3D coming in initially right at the tail end of February. So they said February, but it's February 28th. And then the 7800 X3D coming in, I believe it was in May. Let me double check. I could scroll through. April. In April 6th for the 7800 X3D model, which will be the more affordable version. Now, there's a lot of stuff to unpack here. I know some of you guys have followed this super closely, and I've got other topics to talk about in the video today, new GPUs, the rumors, all sorts of stuff. But anyway, I do want to talk a little bit more about this. So the 7900 X3D and 7950 X3D is a big jump compared to last generation where we had the 5000 series and only the 8-core processor got the 3D V-cache. Now, why do we care about the 3D V-cache? In many, but not all games, having more cache gives a significant bump to gaming performance. So we should expect these to be significantly better at gaming, although in specific games, it'll vary, right? Now, the 7900 series here are an interesting development because these have 2 CCDs. The 8-core 16-thread processors only have 1 CCD, and that CCD, like with the 5800 X3D in the previous generation, got the increased cache. But because of the increased cache causing other constraints on the thermals, power, whatever it is, they have to reduce the clock speeds compared to the non-V-cache version on that. Okay, so there's some pros and cons here. We saw it with the 5000 series, and it ended up being overall in gaming a big upgrade, but there was that slight concern to the clock speeds, the manual overclocking abilities, and things like that. With the 79 series, these both have 2 CCDs. In the case of the 7900 X3D, you have 6 cores and 6 cores, each of those with 12 threads, so you end up with 12 cores, 24 threads. 7950 X3D, each of them are 8 cores and 16 threads, getting you, 16 core, 32 thread total. But what's interesting and important to note here is that the way this is happening on these 2 CCD designs is that one CCD gets the V-cache with the lower clock speeds, and one CCD does not get the V-cache and gets higher clock speeds. And so I think it's going to be very important for us to see how Windows actually schedules this. And notice that these are the ones that are coming out first. So I'm really curious what's going on here. I mean, maybe they all perform equally well, but I'm just saying, okay, they could have launched them all at the same time. If they all perform about the same in gaming, then gamers would jump on the 7800 X3D because it gives you the gaming performance and you don't need the productivity performance of the extra cores, right? 8-core 16-thread is fine. You get the V-cache, great. I also think that this is the one that's going to be most likely for, to not have complications with the Windows scheduling, getting the right application running on the right cores that will benefit. Because on these 9 series, you've got the question of which applications will benefit more from clock speeds and which will benefit more from the cache, and how do you split that up, right? Now, if it ends up working perfectly, this will be fantastic because last generation, for me as somebody who's doing 4K video editing, I had to decide, do I want to upgrade my 5950X with all the cores and threads to a 5800 X3D, which would be faster at gaming, but slower at all the productivity workloads? A 7950 X3D is really interesting if it just gives you the best of both. And there's also some non-gaming applications that do benefit from the cache and all that. But anyway, I think this is going to be one you definitely want to watch the benchmarks on. If they all perform equally well, I mean, that might actually be what's happening and why we're seeing the simpler one come out last, in that maybe these all work great, and the 7800 X3D, in gaming is just as good, so maybe they want the early adopters to pay $699 and not just cannibalize all those sales with the $449 X3D. Now let's talk about this pricing a little bit, because it's better than some people might have actually expected. Because I think this videocards.com article handily summarized it over here for us. If you look at this compared to the launch prices of the non-X3D chips, just compared to the X chips, the 7950 X3D is launching at the same MSRP as of the 7950X. Now, the 7950X hasn't been selling for that price for a while now. According to this article, and I think this lines up to what I've been seeing, the 7950X on Amazon is currently at about $589. And then the 7900X launched at $549, and the 7900 X3D is only $50 above that MSRP pricing. However, the 7900X is currently down to just a little over $400. And it looks like VideoCards has a typo here. The 7700X, which is the 8-core, 16-thread chip without the 3D V-cache, is currently coming in at $399. And don't forget, there are non-X versions of these chips as well, like a 7700 non-X down to $329 MSRP, and selling below that even sometimes. Anyway, so the point is, I'm glad that they didn't bump the top-end MSRP even further. Now, we've got questions about how will this compare versus, Intel's top CPUs, all of that. Also, the 7000 series is currently bundled with Jedi Survivor as a free game code if you buy the CPUs. It's unclear whether or not the X3D chips will get that same game bundle when you're thinking about value. But I think these are really targeted at people who are looking for the ultimate high-end gaming performance and are probably willing to pay quite a bit for that. I think a lot of people have been holding off, waiting for these. Some people have also been holding off waiting just for cheaper motherboards. On that note, I'm not saying that people buying the X3D chips will be targeting an AMD A620 motherboard, but we've been hearing about a lower-end AM5 chipset that should be less expensive, but what are the cutbacks? Now, this is leaked, so to be clear, this is leaked, not official, but it's looking like the main cutback here is it'll lack PCIe Gen 5 support, but will still be able to overclock RAM. And honestly, a lot of people don't really need PCIe Gen 5 support right now. It's a great forward-looking feature, but for someone just looking to get in the door right now for less money, this could be an interesting option. Now, in other AMD news, I'd seen this reported, so I wanted to dig into it. I was seeing a lot of people upset saying AMD has been undershipping their CPUs and GPUs to manipulate the market and keep prices high. And I mean, yes, that's the kind of thing that businesses do, but where is that all coming from? There was a call with talking to investors and all of that, where Lisa Su was questioned about whether they're hitting the bottom on the PC market and how much have they been undershipping the PC business and all of that. Lisa Su's response is, we do believe the first quarter is the bottom for our PC market, for our PC business, and we'll see some growth in the second quarter, and then a seasonally higher second half. Now, getting to the probably more interesting thing in terms of the undershipment, I mean, I think again, this is a transcript from a phone call, so that's, this wasn't a written typed response. We undershipped in quarter 3, we undershipped in quarter 4. We will undership to a lesser extent in quarter 1. So now this is interesting because, despite this undershipping, as we saw here talking about current pricing versus MSRP pricing, that the Ryzen 7000 chips have already had to drop their pricing significantly, right after launch, to sell at all. And still haven't been selling that well. And this is despite them undershipping. Now, their GPU side of things, I think we have seen the effect of this because we had seen the AMD 6000 series GPUs crashing in price for a few months leading up to like kind of Black Friday-ish, it felt like, where we seeing 6800 XTs crashing down around $520 fairly regularly. A lot of people were waiting to see them go under 500, and then suddenly that all seemed to dry up. Going through Christmas and all that. And it's only just recently on my channel that I've found another $520 6800 XT available. So it seems like there has been some supply constraint trying to keep their prices from bottoming out. This is a normal thing that companies do. This is obviously we as consumers want the prices to bottom out, but the company doesn't, right? They have to do a battle between how much they're selling versus how much profit they're earning and trying to, keep their prices up. Anyway, it sounds like they're planning to undership to a lesser extent in Q1, and then they'll think to be back to a more normal environment after that. So now, just as a reminder, though, the first half is not usually, blah, blah, seasonally weak. There's a whole, but this is a huge article. I'll link it in my description if you want a lot of like AMD news and all that. Also, I'll remind you that NVIDIA had been undershipping too. And that was much more widely publicized. Was a similar investor call like this a few months ago, talking about how Jensen Huang had been planning on undershipping their GPUs to keep the prices high. That's been absolutely a thing that they've been doing, and now we have confirmation that AMD has been trying to do the same thing. We haven't heard an update from the NVIDIA camp on how much that's actually, are they still doing that or not? Anyway, but update from AMD. Now, it looks like Acer is planning to bring a custom AMD Radeon RX 7900 graphics card to the DIY market. Acer has not made those. Sounds like it's planning to be a fairly high-end one. However, I don't think this is an official announcement or anything like that. I'm getting it from WCCF Tech, and they're reporting it from Chinese board channels. Looks like IT Home kind of digging in on this. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is true and it happens. It looks like, as for the design, it's not said if Acer will reincorporate its existing Bifrost cooler for the new AMD Radeon 7900X series cards or make a brand new cooling system. Wait and see, all of that. So it looks like not a lot known, but we might be getting a new cooler manufacturer for some AMD cards. An interesting tweet showing off the RTX 6000. Yes, you read that right, 6000 in TimeSpy. Keep in mind, I reported on this before. This is a professional class GPU. This is the RTX 6000 Ada. This has more CUDA cores than a 4090. It has like the full GPU die unlocked. However, it has 48 gigabytes of memory. It has some differences to its power consumption. Again, this is a professional class GPU. Somebody apparently has posted a TimeSpy score with it, which doesn't actually look that impressive compared to what a 4090 can deliver. But again, these could be tuned for different things. And if you look at this frequency chart, it kind of looks a bit up and down and dipping a bit. So I'm not sure if this is maybe somebody running the best possible power or setup or whatever for this card, so I don't want to dwell on this. Anyway, it looks like, it says, but before update could get 36,844. Photo shows 30K. The 36,000 score is a lot better, but they're saying before an update. So it sounds like some sort of update might be messing with this. I don't want to dwell on that, but thought it was at least interesting. Now we're seeing rumors, and again, to be clear, rumors about the RTX 4070 non-TI. Mostly what we're getting here is a tweet from T4C Fantasy, and being reported by videocards.com, talking about the reference RTX 4070 having a base clock of 1920 and a boost clock of 2475, saying the first AIB to finish a 4070 is colorful with their Ultra WOC line, and that one boosts to 2505. Saying that this is this Twitter account, I think, is a Matthew Smith, who is apparently a Tech PowerUp GPU database maintainer. Now, I don't know about this source myself, so I can't weigh in on how credible this would be. Also, it's not giving us specific performance claims, just kind of some boost clock numbers. Apparently, Matthew's also weighing in on the Titan Ada rumors and saying that the card is confirmed to exist, but no one knows when or if NVIDIA will actually launch it. Although it has appeared in the validation database, with clock speeds of 2235 and 20 base and a 2520 boost, which is apparently the same as a 4090. And it did have 48 gigabytes of GDDR6X. But again, that's not saying that that actually will come out with those specs and whatnot. And again, here's videocards.com's helpful little summary of what we know about the 4070 Ti and then what is rumored about the 4070 and 4060 Ti. And then again, production rumors could go into production in February, but then it would take... I think takes a while after production begins to actually launch, so I wouldn't expect these this month or anything like that. Looks like we're seeing the Aorus 17X with an RTX 4090 now available for pre-orders if you're interested in that. Now let's jump over to some Intel news. So at WCCF Tech, we're seeing Intel's new Arc GPU driver achieves up to 87% performance uplift since launch, aggregate 43% improvement in DX9 titles. Now this is compared to launch, not to the latest driver. So there was a new driver, but these claims are claimed compared to their launch specs, and these are Intel's numbers. We need to get some independent reviews, although I was skimming my YouTube videos, which I haven't had time to watch, and it looks like Gamers Nexus may have a video on this. I have not had a chance to see that. So I think this needs some independent benchmarking. Hopefully that's what that video is from Gamers Nexus. Apparently, Intel is also dropping the price of the A750 down to $249. So performance improvements, price cuts, pretty interesting stuff. Their software has also been kind of annoying to deal with, and we're seeing the Intel Arc Control overlay, as had been rumored, is now apparently actually updated with the latest driver, and it gives you the option to disable the overlay and just use it as a desktop app that isn't that annoying overlay thing, or if you do like the overlay, you can run it as a desktop and an overlay. So this is an overall good update, and I, in general, am very happy to see Intel seeming to listen very closely to what people want and actually try to deliver on that. So personally, I would need to test it out again myself to see what I think, whether it's ready for me to recommend. I haven't been recommending the Intel GPUs just because price to performance, they'd been beating NVIDIA, but in price to performance in a lot of cases, but with certain games underperforming so badly, especially older ones, and then just the general usability of their software, things like that was a bit concerning. And then price to performance versus AMD with like the 6650 XT hasn't been as impressive. So I've been giving the recommendation in that price point to AMD. Might be worth updating my my thoughts on that with some benchmarks in the future, but we shall see. Intel is apparently also rumored, now this is just a rumor, to be dropping their 12th gen Core i9 processor pricing by up to 20%. I'm seeing this at videocards.com, but apparently the original rumor is coming from DigiTimes. Anyway, guys, I've got to get my kids up and ready for school. Wasn't actually planning on doing a news video today, but then we saw the X3D chip information, which I'm very excited about. Are you guys planning on grabbing one of these? Are you going to hold out for the X3D to see how they all benchmark before choosing? What are your thoughts? I hope all of you have an excellent day.